on the Newman Jets Audio Network. This is the JetCast, the official podcast of Newman University Athletics, featuring exclusive interviews with coaches, players, administrators, and more. The JetCast podcast is brought to you by South Central Ceiling and Paving, online at SCSEALING.com. Mel Hambledon Ford, Pepsi, Eck Agency, Donlinger Construction, Big Corner Creative, Dr. Brennan Lucas and Advanced Orthopedic Associates, Keystone Solid Surfaces, and by Overland Charters, the official transportation provider of Newman University Athletics. Here's the voice of the Newman Jets, Blake Cripps.
JetCast is back here for the first episode of the second semester. Jets women's basketball getting set to take on Rogers State coming up. A renewal of their Heartland Conference rivalry, a 3-game week, so it's a very, very busy week for Newman basketball. Both the men and the women in action this week here at Fugate Gymnasium. And it's another Youth Sports Saturday coming up, so bring out the kids as the Jets take on Northeastern State. We're here with Coach Drew. It's been a whirlwind of a start to the new year for him and the Johnson family as well, so we got to get caught up on all that with Coach Drew. Coach, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Obviously, Central Oklahoma, we will start with that. Busy week for you, your first 3-game week as the coach of the Newman Jets. Against Central Oklahoma, we talked in postgame. You guys were right there for a long stretch of the game, had a couple of nice runs, and had a couple of stretches of good defense, particularly in that third quarter. Even though you lost, I know too many turnovers, but still a lot of positives to take away from Edmond. What's the one thing in the locker room you talked to them about after the game to kind of bring with them and try to build some momentum here into the second semester?
Yeah, I think we just talked a little bit about just kind of continuing to find ways to keep those runs going for us. You know, how do you hold them to 8 in the third quarter? How do you make it instead of 12-8, 16-8, you know, and those extra couple points here and there? You know, we talk a lot about being about, 8 points away from being right where you want to be to win a couple more basketball games, and that 8 points isn't all defensive or all offensive, and it's one less turnover here and one more, little bit more dedication to the scouting report there, and you're right where you want to be. So we're not a long ways away, and like you said, down 4 at the end of 3 at Central Oak. We're getting there.
And obviously, there were a couple of layups, and it seemed like you guys had about 4 threes that were like halfway down, and they pop out.
Yep.
And if you make half of those, certainly a different game as well. What's your opinion on the rims of Hamilton Fieldhouse?
Yeah, Tiffany Dortland's a little frustrated. She still had 16, but, man, she had a couple that went down and out. And, we had a couple layups. Sid really attacked well, and I thought she had a couple that just, rimmed out. And you look at the score at halftime, and you've given up 42, which is too many for us. But in the end, you had a couple of shots that they just go. It's about a 5-point game at halftime. And so, just that's sort of the breaks, and it's sort of how sports in general probably feel when things are feeling good. Some of those go in, right?
Sure,
when things aren't feeling quite as good, they don't go in, and that's just part of it, I guess.
Well, and I kind of have to ask you, segueing away from basketball, about the whirlwind of the last few days, birth of your son, Cooper Gene Johnson, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Welcomed into the world on the 30th or 31st?
30th at like 2:30 a.m., so
okay.
It was bright and early.
So Coach Nicole was hoping it would be. She talked with her on her last day of practice. She said, "Yeah, let's hope it's Thursday. If it's Friday, it's not going to be. That's not going to be a very fun process for me." But how has this whirlwind been of the last few days for the Johnson household as you've kind of gotten over and gotten through this extremely exciting event for you and your family?
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, anytime you can, new babies are special. And we've been pretty fortunate, knock on wood. Cooper's been slept well and been pretty what I would call calm as far as, Dax really needed to be held or wanted to be held a lot early. Cooper's kind of a little more relaxed, and that's definitely made the kind of transition here a little smoother. The best thing I could say is a huge credit to our team for just being kind of flexible. Obviously, we had that day where they kind of had to run a little bit of stuff on their own as Nicole and I were out, and Josh was out as well. And so just kind of trying to put it all together. They've been super flexible and just brought their best energy whenever we can get in the gym. And it's more scheduled now, but those first couple days are always a little just busy.
Well, yeah. And I was going to say, what's the sleep level like right now for the head coach?
Yeah.
and Coach Nicole?
Yeah. I'm doing okay. We have a little bit of a system, which has been nice. I've kind of taken some of the midnight kind of feedings and wake ups and all that, and Nicole's kind of slept and then gotten some of the maybe earlier morning ones, and that's helped us both get a little bit of rest, and so it's been okay. No one really sleeps a ton.
No, I understand. There is a Mountain Dew located off camera.
Yeah, I'll take that in an IV.
Yeah, so. Caffeine. Yeah, you are a bit of a Mountain Dew guy, but yeah, I'm sure the caffeine at this point in the year is really helpful. How is Coach Nicole doing?
Yeah, she's doing really well, really well. And so, it was a short delivery, and so that helped as well. But she's doing great, and she's chomping at the bit to get back on the sideline. And she was yelling at the screen from the living room. It's always a lot harder to coach from the living room. That's for sure.
I bet it's hard to hear. She told me, she said, "Oh yeah, Saturday I'll be back." Think that's a possibility? I know you said, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that she probably would have liked to have come down to Edmond.
Right,
but, probably not the best decision.
We'll see. It'll be interesting. It sounds like we'll have some parents around this weekend, and she feels like she's feeling good enough to come back. So we'll see. It's one thing to say you want to do it. It's another thing to leave your week-old son at home with
sure.
your parents, which they're obviously very capable. But
what's something that you know now that you wish you would have known when Dax was born?
I can remember the first time that Nicole was coaching a summer league game, and Dax wasn't uber young. I mean, a month old or 2 months old or whatever, but I hadn't really been by myself with him. And I don't have my younger sibling is 3 years younger than me, so I really wasn't around babies a lot. And so Nicole left, and Dax cried for about 5 hours straight. And so I know now that it's going to be okay, right? You're not going to make a mistake that's going to, be catastrophic necessarily in a short period of time. So I think I'm a lot calmer when he cries, when Cooper cries now than I was when Dax cried.
How much of a communication do you have to have? Because you guys, there are a lot of coaches, and I'm sure that there are coaches that have kids, and they have to figure that out. How do you guys have to communicate since you're both on the coaching staff and you've both got responsibilities on game days, on road trips? For a lot, it's, either he's coaching, she's at home, she's coaching, he's at home, and there's someone to take care of the kids while there's a road trip or while there's a basketball game. How much extra time and dedication and thought do you have to put into these schedules and plans when you've got to find a third person to kind of get involved?
Yeah, I think absolutely some, and more than maybe people really realize. And it's not always just the game. It's also 4 to 6 practice, and daycare closes at 5, right? So that's kind of a daily mission, and we try to do a good job of being ahead of it. Sometimes better than others, obviously.
Sure.
But I think it goes back to, you hear the phrase, it takes a village to do anything, right? Raise a child or run a successful basketball program or whatever. And I think you don't really know that until you get 2 feet in the water. And so we've been fortunate that at our time at Bethel and our time here, we've had some really great people around us that have been super supportive and super helpful. But you can't coach as a husband and wife duo without that. And so, a huge credit to, or huge thanks to our parents, both sets of our parents, and then also a huge thanks to just some people that have been in our lives. Riley Malloy, who played here, goes with us on a road trip so Dax can come, right? And it takes little things like that to be successful at it.
Yeah, it has been for you guys, and certainly congratulations to you and Coach Nicole again. When do you believe, I'm sure after everybody clamored for Dax's attention on the bus, I'm sure your team would like to meet the newest Jet. When do you think that might happen?
Yeah, hopefully soon. God, it's one of those things where it's also just with all the kind of obviously COVID stuff going on, but this flu seems like it's kind of cranked up, and it's obviously cold. We're trying to be we're obviously going to be in situations as coaches, coaching basketball and being around college students and going on the road and all that you're at a certain amount of just kind of, risk of getting sick anyway. Trying to let him, be a little bit older before we kind of get him out of the house. But we want to do that. It'll be a fun moment. The first practice we had after he was born, we'd obviously sent some pictures to the team, but just had a few more on my phone and showed him. And one of the things about this team that is, you just try not to take for granted every day, because it is really special, is how caring they are and how just invested they are into our lives, and hopefully we're as invested into their lives, and that relationship is really important.
Final question for you. Let's move back to basketball. Rogers State, Northeastern State coming up, your 2 games this week. This Rogers State game, of course, renewal of an old Heartland Conference rivalry, and Coach Allen was talking after his game. So, you don't want to make both these teams, I think Rogers State as well, looking for their first MIAA win. You don't want to put too much on any one game, but you do have a chance to springboard yourself here. You've got some winnable games coming up, and you want to try to get that first one out of the way. Even though you're coming off of a loss, you've got some pretty positive vibes. I think you brought back to Wichita from Edmond with you. In your mind as the head coach, what's the approach for a game and a team like Rogers State?
Yeah, I think one of the things about Rogers to me is that they're a little bit player-specific to what they do. You play – everybody in the league is a little different, but you've got some rosters in the league that are very multi-dimensional. A guard that can really drive it and really shoot it. They're a little more structured, and they've got some kids that shoot it. They've got some kids that drive it. They've obviously got a couple of really, really good players that have scored the ball really well this season. And so one of the things that we want to try to do is make sure that we use a scouting report to try to at least take them out of what they do best and make kind of secondary players or make their key players score in secondary ways. And if we can do that, then you think you feel like you have a shot, in the game. So I thought we did a nice job, actually, outside of Kelsey Johnson, who was really good at Central Oak. I thought we did a really nice job of that against everybody else on the team. The 3-point shooters didn't get to take a bunch of open threes. Their drivers, we were able to kind of take great angles, and they didn't get a bunch of just running downhill layups. The same thing has to happen to me in this next stretch that includes, Rogers, Northeastern, Lincoln, Central Missouri. These next 4 games are teams that are kind of like that. And so we got to make sure that we're doing a great job with the scout.
Coach Drew, Newman Women's Basketball. Again, congratulations on Gene, and we'll see you there in the gym. Once again, opening up 2022 at Fugate Gymnasium. Come on out. It's the Jets and the Hillcats, 5:30, 7:30 doubleheader. Riverhawks with a 1:30, 3:30 doubleheader on Saturday. You can catch it all on the Newman Jets Audio Network, newmanjets.com/listen, or watch the MIAAnetwork.com/Newman. Coach, good luck, and we'll see you at the gate.
Thank you so much. Go Jets.
We'll be back with Makayla Hayes talking women's basketball in just a moment on the JetCast.
Where can you land the best Jet swag? The official online store of Newman University Athletics, NUJetsgear.com. The store features the greatest variety of Jets logo gear anywhere. From latest clothing styles and hats to Newman-branded lawn chairs and office supplies and more. NUJetsgear.com is your place to purchase sports-specific, alumni, parents, and hard-to-find Newman merchandise. Shop right now on your computer or phone. NUJetsgear.com, or click the Shop Now button at NewmanJets.com.
Life. It throws you curves and it knocks you down. But what separates the good from the great is the getting back up. Newman University will always get back up. We are a university of doers, of innovators, of transformers. We inspire as we soar to new heights. We will not be beaten. We will not settle for anything less than the best. We are Newman University.
Continuing here on the JetCast as we're talking women's basketball. Women are back in action coming up here on Thursday and Saturday this week. Back at home, the first home games of 2022 as they take on Rogers State, their old Heartland Conference rivals. You'll know something about playing in that Heartland Conference, and Northeastern State coming up. Of course, joining me, one of the 2 seniors on this team from Missouri, Makayla Hayes. Makayla, thank you so much for making an appearance on the JetCast to start 2022.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Well, Central Oklahoma, obviously a double-digit loss for you guys, but I talked to Coach Drew about it after the game and said, I know people are going to look, and they're going to look at the turnover number. They're going to look and see that you guys lost by 14 or 16, whatever it was. But if you watch the entire 40 minutes of the game, there was a lot of the game. I mean, you guys played really well for 20 minutes, and then I think for another 10 minutes even, you guys maybe not as good as Central Oklahoma, but you were right there with them. How did it feel on the court to you to get out there and compete against a team like that after such a long break for Christmas?
Yeah, it was really nice, especially having that energy coming into that game. I think that was really key for us. Like you said, just like piecing everything together is what will really help us. And I feel like we were flying around that game, getting our steals, and it was a fun game to watch and play in.
It was.
So I think that really helped us, and we just kind of have to use that to kind of carry us throughout the rest of the season.
And I like to think that I'm an expert on what a good game to watch is, and it was a very fun game for me to call, even though we didn't come out on the right side, because it was very much in doubt until the last 4 minutes or so of the game. You personally have kind of transformed your game this year. Last year, you became much more of a shooter than you had ever been, much more of an offensive threat. This season, while you're not scoring as much, you've got way higher assist to turnovers per game than you have in the past. What's been that transformation like, and is that something that the coaches talked to you about trying to do with you this season before it began?
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard with new coaching staff, knowing what, previous players have done and stuff. But I feel like a lot of the transformation comes from the team. Depending on what the players do. We have the shooters on the team and then the big post threats that we have. And my role kind of just fell in with getting those people that are open those shots and making that extra pass to the people that are open, because on those drives that seems to happen, and get those shots that they have.
Now, I will, and I always warn people, Coach Drew is in the room as I ask this question. There are a couple of times this year where Coach Drew, let's say, has gotten rather passionate with you guys in the huddle. What's it like when you're in that huddle, when Coach Drew is perhaps emphatically letting you know about maybe some adjustments that he'd like you to make?
Yeah, I mean, all coaches have their different things, but I feel like for our team, it's not always a bad thing. I feel like we take that, and it kind of gives us that boost of energy that we might need, whether we like it or not. But, that energy from him also goes to us, which goes onto the floor.
Well, and I wanted to point out, I don't know if you guys like that or not, but it seems like every time he does that, you guys have responded. I remember the Missouri Southern game, called that timeout. You guys went on the big run. And you guys gave up a little bit of a run to Central Oklahoma and played very, very well for the next 10 minutes after he called that timeout. So it seems like whatever he's putting down in that huddle, it seems to be working for you guys.
Yeah, it's kind of just I feel like the team responds well to that and his coaching methods. And when you like playing for a coach, that's the kind of things that you do. Take it and respond to it.
You guys are obviously wily veterans. You've been around, recruited by Coach Spence, and we talked about that before the show started here. You and Faith have been around in the Heartland Conference, and obviously Monty was with the old program as well. What's been the adjustment like? And another thing that you brought up that I also talked with Faith about was the transition from man-to-man to zone, and now you're back to man-to-man. So what do you feel like your career has been like here as a Jet?
It's been a really good experience. One thing that's never changed is the team bond that we've always had throughout these 4 years. And like you said, the zone in high school, I played a lot of zone too, so it's been a big difference. And I mean, there's there's similarities between the two, but there's a lot more method to a man that I like this year, and it just makes more sense. And there's things that click better, and all around, it's been a good change.
I wanted to ask you, because one thing that didn't change, Coach Spence and Coach Crum took advantage of on the road, was your parents providing a meal for the team. Coach Drew and Coach Nicole said, "Yeah, we're in. Let's do this," and she provided a couple of amazing meals for us. I think it was maybe the Lincoln trip that we took a couple of years ago, and maybe our first trip in the MIAA, and then obviously this year as well. Is cooking something that runs in your family, and has that been passed down from mother to daughter?
Well, my mom, ever since I was little, she's cooked home meal every single meal.
Wow.
She went to work as a teacher and then came home and cooked food, and maybe that's the way that she shows love. But she especially, and my dad, they really like being around the team. And, my dad's always like, this is an experience that you'll, remember forever. So he likes being able to be with the team, and he thinks it's really special. So they enjoy doing it for us.
And a shout out to Mrs. Hayes. that pasta was amazing. And boy, how hard was it to keep away from those cookies when you were trying to be in shape in high school?
Yeah. Everyone always raves about the cookies, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm a little spoiled, but
yeah, no, I have a mom that does that too. So yeah, I know what that is like. So continuing off the subject of basketball, we just got done with Christmas. What's the best gift that you gave, and what's the best gift that you received for the Christmas holiday this year?
Well, I'd like to be non-materialistic, but here we are.
We'll forgive you if you're not. And understanding that, of course, we're at Christian University. It's not the reason for Christmas, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Yeah, okay. So the best gift that was probably to my fiance. I got him a Najee Harris jersey from the Steelers. He's a big Steelers fan.
Wow.
So that's something that he was excited about, especially after their win yesterday. But and the best one I got was a purse. I got a new purse. So
wow,
it was nice.
First of all, kind of bearing the lead here. I didn't realize fiance. Congratulations. Yeah. I see.
Thank you.
Ring.
Yeah.
Do you mind showing?
No,
it
that's okay.
For the camera. Wow, that's nice job. So where is he a Newman student?
Yeah, Mario Rodriguez for the wrestling team.
Okay,
yeah.
Very nice. So that's maybe something we can follow up on a later JetCast here. How did that relationship come to be about, and how excited? Do you have a date set yet?
Yeah, June 25th this summer.
Okay, so man, that's right around the corner.
Yeah, we actually met in the training room when I had my back injury freshman year.
I remember. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Another guy that I know is very fond of you. I think that almost everybody on the team wanted this honor. I believe that you are Dax Johnson's favorite Newman player on the bus trip. Everybody wanted him to go back, from the trainer Kaylee, basically every player. He went and sat with you, I think, twice. So how big of an honor was that to be Dax's favorite Newman Jet?
So honored. I feel like maybe it's the teacher in me that just kids draw to, maybe. But we love having him, and he always colors little pictures for us, and he gets to pick out who gets them after practice, and sometimes we play rock, paper, scissors, so it's always fun having him in the gym.
I was going to ask you, you said your mom's a teacher. You seem to be very, very natural teaching in your future as well.
Yeah. I just finished student teaching, so.
What level do you think you're going to teach at, or what level would you like to teach at? Elementary, middle school?
Definitely elementary. I did second grade for student teaching, and I really like that age group. So.
Okay, so Dax is not quite there, but I mean,
almost.
He's getting in the ballpark.
Yeah.
And Coach Drew's saying, it's getting here faster than we want it to. Another bond I wanted to ask you about was Faith Mason-Vestal. You guys have kind of been best friends. She talked about how cool it was to go up to Kansas City and be a part of the MIAA Media Day. I wanted to ask you about the experience of doing that with her, but kind of sharing this experience from coaching staffs. You guys had a lot of success in the Heartland Conference, your guys' first year here. But what's been that like to share it with someone I'm sure will be your best friend for life?
Yeah, it's definitely something that, freshman year we came in together, we're roommates, and, that bond has really never left. And it's something that throughout college is one of the most important things, is you'll make friendships that'll last you a lifetime. So that's something I'm really grateful for. And, we've had our ups and downs, with basketball, but.
And with injuries.
With injuries and, knees and backs. And, once you get older, you start realizing every time you fall down, it's a little harder to get up.
It's kind of hilarious that this one's talking about getting older. But, anyway, a final question for you. It's kind of appropriate we have you on to talk about the renewal of your old Heartland Conference rivalry with Rogers State coming up. Obviously, you guys, as I mentioned, have to be feeling, even though you lost, that you played pretty well enough to win against some of these MIAA teams.
Yeah.
You don't want to make this – obviously you want to get your first win in the MIAA. You don't want to make any one game your Super Bowl, but what do you feel like as a veteran on this team who's been through this a couple of years before, and on some teams that have won some really big games, by the way, Lubbock Christian shout out. How do you think the team needs to approach a game like this, trying to get your first win and try to build some momentum into this second semester?
Yeah, Rogers State's one of those teams that we really just have to focus in, like our coach has constantly talked about, these next games, just focus in on what we need to do, and to those individual players, and really focusing on that. And they're a team, like I said, that is going to be going after all those like little balls and,
sure.
you know, really after it. So we just have to focus in on having the energy like we did, especially against our last game and those quarters, and then we'll win, you know, look at the game farther down. But just focus on the little parts. That'll get us to the bigger parts of the game.
It is a doubleheader coming up on Thursday. That'll be tomorrow as you're watching or listening to this. It is the Jets and Rogers State, 5:30, 7:30 doubleheader. Of course, you can listen to the games on the Newman Jets Audio Network, newmanjets.com/listen on your Newman app, or watch the games, the MIAA Network.com/Newman. And the Jets will be back at Fugate Gymnasium to take on the Riverhawks of Northeastern State. Doubleheader coming up on Saturday. Makayla Hayes, thank you so much. And once again, congratulations to you. Have a fantastic wedding this summer.
All right, thank you.
We will wrap up the JetCast with Coach Allen talking men's basketball when we return on the JetCast. Wrapping up the JetCast, talking men's basketball to open up 2022. The Jets falling at Central Oklahoma back in action on Thursday as part of that doubleheader that we talked to you about. Jets and Rogers State on Thursday, Northeastern State Saturday. We're talking with Coach R.J. Allen here to wrap up our JetCast today. Coach, played a very, very good first half against Central Oklahoma. Things didn't go well in the second half when they switched to the zone. What in the first half do you think worked well for you guys against the Bronze and Blue yesterday?
Yeah, I thought, when we saw them in a man-to-man setting, we were able to space the floor. I thought our spacing in the half court was good. That's something that we'd been working on a little bit, and we were able to drive gaps and just share the basketball. I thought our guys played unselfish early on in the first half. I can't remember how many assists we had at the half, but
I know you only had 3 turnovers at the half.
Yep. And, we just did a good job of moving the basketball, and we were able to generate some good looks, some open shots.
Well, and you mentioned the fact that over these next few days and weeks that working against the zone is something that you're going to be focused on in practice. Is that something you do with drills? Is that something that has to be done 5-on-5? What do you feel like the approach is going to be to get the guys in the proper mindset to attack the zone and, in your words, not become quite as stagnant in the offensive sets?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think when you're really trying to drill home concepts, it's always best, in my opinion, to break it down. So there's some drill work there that we'll get to, and then the other side of it is you have to play. You have to play and play 5-on-5 and get up and down and things of that nature, so that you can kind of simulate what it will look like come game time. So there's kind of a balance of both.
How nice is it to have this time that you really do want to work on something, put some new stuff in, and work on that zone? How great is it to have the guys' full attention this week before classes start?
Yeah, it's always good. I always tell them this is my favorite time of the year, where we can kind of regroup and we get to focus on basketball and, just basketball. So this is the last week for that, and then classes will begin next week, and then, you got to get back to taking care of your business in the classroom first, and then focus on basketball second. So that's this is the best time of the year for that, and we'll continue to hammer that.
Well, and another thing, it's not just the best time of the year to focus on basketball, but you kind of also focus on family. And I believe that it was your eldest son kind of going through some of the lines, doing some of the drills in practice last week. What's it like to have your son out there and getting in the mix with the guys a little bit?
Man, that's just family tradition. I'm the son of a coach, so I remember growing up as a youngster, being in my dad's practices and just kind of trying to hold my own against the guys, and he's no different. He's 12, so yeah, I throw him out there, and he gets to work against the guys and get better, and hopefully prepare himself for his own season and team.
Well, and there's a different answer for each coach. Obviously, you were coached by your dad. Are you thinking maybe one of these years, maybe you're going to get to coach your son? Is that something that you think you might enjoy?
I have no idea. Hopefully, that would be, if the opportunity presented itself, that would be marvelous. But I'm not sure.
I know there are some daughters and sons that don't want to play for their mom or dad head coaches, and there's some coaches that don't necessarily want to coach their own kids too. Now, obviously, it's a little early, but how did you kind of frame that in your mind when you were growing up, and you were headed east, and you were going to play for Coach Allen, whether you wanted to or not?
Yeah. Probably at the time I couldn't stand it, but looking back, it was a blessing to have that time spent and to play for your dad and kind of build a foundation and see him work and be a product of his work. So that ends up being really cool. Now as a parent, yeah, that would be really cool. But I have no clue.
Yeah.
What if that would ever come about?
Well, shout out to you, Coach Allen. We miss having you around the program. It was so great to have your dad here on your staff for a few years, and it kind of came full circle when you hired your dad to be one of your assistants, and then. He was working for you for a change.
Yeah, he was. He was still barking out orders like he was, he's just the head coach of our heart. So, him and I like, yo, listen, relax.
What was there ever a moment that you had to say, Dad, I love you, but I'm the head coach of this team, and I need you to understand that?
No, not really. Yeah, he's really good and really helped us. And, when we got the job here, and Coach DePriest and I, we were really young. And he helped us, kind of, steer this thing in the right direction. He was really good with the guys. They loved him. The only time we'd have to, calm him down a little bit is on the bench for the sideline with the officials. But we all have a good time, and we enjoyed it.
What do you think in terms of kind of setting up, your program? What do you think is the thing that he did that benefited you the most? Was it providing like an idea for structure, for practice structure, or just how to deal with officials, how to deal with guys? What do you think is the one thing that an idea that he gave you that you're still using today?
I don't know if it's one particular that stands out. I think, the thing that I always kind of lean back to is just how he treated the guys, like the players, the relationship building. I think any really good coach is going to kind of hit on the same aspects of, these kids that come, they play for you. You got a responsibility to take care of them. Take care of the guys that are playing for you. Take care of the coaches that are working hard for you. And just how you treat people on a day-to-day basis, how you're there for people. Encourage and uplift guys on and off the floor. So that's what we try to do every single day. We coach them hard, but off the floor, behind closed doors, man, we want to take care of them. We want to uplift them and encourage them and ultimately get them graduated. And we've done that at a very high level since we've been here.
Obviously, Newman, a great educational institution. You guys should be commended for that. One thing that should not be commended necessarily is Michigan's performance in the college football playoff, and we've got one of the biggest Big Ten conference fans probably in the entire state of Kansas sitting here at this table, and it's not me. How do you defend your conference here? Now, understandably, you spent a lot of time up in Minnesota, and it didn't take long to brainwash you into Big Ten, the Big Ten mantra that they're the best at everything, but it didn't go so good for the Wolverines. How do you reconcile that, and how much of the playoff did you get to watch?
Honestly, I didn't watch that much of it. I watched maybe a quarter of the Michigan game. It wasn't worth watching that much, to be honest with you. I was a little disappointed, but yeah, they were. The SEC is a different beast. Those guys are an NFL team, honestly. So, yeah, there wasn't much of a game. Wasn't much you can say about that.
No? Do you feel like the Big Ten's going to make a comeback here on the basketball court?
Yeah, they got some really good teams in the Big Ten this year. I know Purdue's really good. I haven't had a chance to sit down and actually watch them. I've watched some highlights on. I know they have a really good team. They always have a good program. I know Minnesota got off to a good start. I haven't been able to catch up and see where they're at right now. So there's definitely some good teams. I thought Rutgers had got off to a good start too. So there's some good teams. There's always good basketball up there. So it's so cold up there. There's nothing else to do. So you play basketball inside.
Yeah, they do. As you can tell on the JetCast, we don't just focus on the Jets on the basketball court. We kind of go all over. One thing that goes on to the basketball court that I wanted to ask you about that's not necessarily related to the game is the coaching attire. And when you started, you were a guy, you and Coach DePriest, you guys would rock some pretty fancy suits, ties. Went away last year, but you guys were, one of the sharper dressed coaching staffs, I would say, in the Heartland Conference and moving into the MIAA. The tie and the suits have not returned, and that kind of went away as a nationwide thing during the coronavirus year, and it didn't come back. And when Coach Doty from Emporia State came down, and he wasn't wearing a fancy suit, I thought this thing is dead forever. Do you feel like that will ever come back, the wearing the suit and the tie on the sideline for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. It's just so much more comfortable not being in a suit and just. I mean, I get it. I understand it. I think a lot of the suit wearing it's just tradition.
Because it's always been that way.
For basketball coaches. And, obviously last year was just a world win for everyone. So we kind of went away from it. And then this year, I just thought I was so much more comfortable than I was in the past. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it may come back. But
I'm sure you still got all those suits and ties in the closet somewhere.
I do, and they're just sitting there. And they'll sit there for now. So we'll see.
Well, and football coaches used to wear ties on the sideline, and then that went away. I think the only major sport, baseball, they've always worn the uniform for some reason. Obviously, that's not coming to basketball. But yeah, I was looking down and I thought, that's something a little different. But even at the highest levels, you've got like Jay Wright at Villanova is not wearing a suit now. And, he's, always got the fanciest threads probably on the planet, but it seems to be a nationwide thing. I wanted to ask you as well, we talked earlier this year about the pack line defense and how you had gotten that from Virginia. I want to ask you about kind of your coaching mentors. You talked about your dad and what he's done and how he's kind of provided guidance for your career. What's a national coach? What do you think is the national coach? You took that from, Virginia, that program. You got to host Bill Self down here for the NCAA tournament a couple of years ago. What's one national coach that you feel like you try to model yourself after, your program after, or maybe you've stolen a set from them that you really like? What's one national coach that you really admire and respect?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we all steal a lot of stuff from everyone.
Of course.
I'm be the first. I'm not any guru here. I think almost all the stuff that I have and have implemented into our program, I've gotten it from someone at some point in time. Guys that there are a lot of really good coaches out there that I admire, and some that come to mind. There's a guy who's actually in the NBA, and it's not so much that I admire like what they run or what they do, but it's Adrian Griffin is a Wichita guy. Toronto Raptors, played in the NBA, just a guy that I've always watched from afar, and kind of how he's handled his business and climbed up the ladder. I'm a huge fan of Kansas and Coach Self, obviously being in Kansas and growing up.
Great answer, by the way.
I know you're a diehard Jayhawk guy. Chris Mack, their time at Xavier and at Louisville, does a phenomenal job. He's a phenomenal teacher. I've actually had the opportunity to hear him speak in person, so that's been pretty cool. So there's so many on the list that do a tremendous job, and I'm a fan of the game as well.
Sure.
So I love watching guys work, and the work that they put into it is amazing, and it's really cool to see.
And that's why you ask great questions, because then you get great answers as well. Final question for you, Coach. Renewal of this Heartland Conference rivalry. Rogers State coming up here on Thursday, Northeastern State on Saturday. And you mentioned, you guys are looking for your first MIAA win. Fort Hays State just got beaten by Rogers State. They're looking to try to build some momentum. You don't want to put anything on any one game, but you've got a couple of opportunities here to pick up that victory. What do you feel like is the correct approach? I'll ask you the same question I asked Coach Drew. What do you think is the correct approach for this team for this game coming up on Thursday?
I mean, the approach has to be the same. I don't think you can put all your eggs in one basket. It's not football. Like, this isn't the Super Bowl for you or anything like that. Your approach stays the same. Our approach will stay the same in our preparation and how we prepare. Nothing's going to change. We feel like we're really close, and we've played really good basketball at spurts. We got to find a way to sustain it, and I feel like if we can do that, we can win some basketball games.
Coach R.J. Allen, once again, doubleheader coverage coming up as the Jets take on Rogers State. Northeastern State on Saturday, 5:30, 7:30 doubleheader on Thursday. You can watch the games on themiaanetwork.com/Newman, or listen, of course, on the Newman Jets Audio Network, your Newman Jets app on Google Play or the App Store, newmanjets.com/listen. Coach, appreciate it. We'll see you out there at the gym coming up on Thursday and Saturday.
Thank you.
We'll be back with another JetCast next week. We'll have a men's basketball player on the show, and we will also talk wrestling with Coach Smith and a wrestler. So we'll see you next week on the JetCast. So for now, Blake Cripps saying, Go Jets.